Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Lord. Huge week of college football. I know there was a week earlier in the week, maybe like week 6, that was like, we're like, oh, this might be the best college football weekend of all time. But because we're so far later in the season, I think this one takes the cake. We'll start off in Tuscaloosa with the game that I think most of us think it will decide the SEC West. Whoever wins this will probably, if Alabama wins it, they're basically in. They've already played the A&Ms. They beat Ole Miss. They will have beaten LSU, and they will have 0 losses, and they'll have the tiebreaker Ole Miss. So if they win this game, they're basically in. LSU would still have to take care of business and need a loss from Ole Miss, but of course, Ole Miss travels to Georgia. I think whoever wins this game makes it. But this is a weird one because we talked about LSU overs, and I know this game started out at 62.5. It dropped down to 60. The Sharps have always been betting down LSU's over-unders. I have no idea why, because they are 100% against the spread on these over-unders, and I see no way that this game does not go over 60 because LSU is going to score 30 points. They average 47.5 a game. I know Alabama's defense is good. I know they're on the road, but LSU is going to score 30 points. And I don't see how Alabama doesn't score 30 points because you're without 3 of your best cornerbacks. You don't have Mickey Wingo. He's now out for the regular season. This game's going to be a shootout. There's no reason it shouldn't be a shootout.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm going to let y'all have this. I'm going to say my piece, and then y'all are the resident LSU people, so I'll let you have this. I'm on LSU. I do think that their offense is enough to keep up, and, they're going to try to turn this into a track meet. Alabama can't let that happen. I think that's what this is going to come down to. But I like the Tigers in this one. I don't know. I've been feeling the underdogs lately. If you watched our college football log show on YouTube, which you should, the dogs have been barking this year. We've been good with the underdogs, especially last week. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling LSU here. I think it makes the SEC West really interesting, especially if Ole Miss somehow manages to beat Georgia. That would actually really throw things off. But we'll see. I don't know. I have a lot of faith in LSU this week. It may be misguided, but this is a small spread, and I think it should be taken accordingly. I'm interested to see how the public reacts.
I don't think that you could confidently say one way or the other. Obviously, I'm an LSU fan. Chase is an LSU fan. We want LSU to win, but if I'm giving you just trying to not be biased, I couldn't tell you who's going to win. It's a 3-point spread, 3.5-point spread some places. I'm personally, I'm going to be all over the over for the things that Chase said, that this offense is dangerous. It's the best offense in football right now in terms of explosive play rate, just putting up points. They're so well balanced because they do run the football well, and their defense is a joke. It wasn't good to begin with, and now they're severely shorthanded. Mickey Wingo has been arguably the best player on that defense. I know everybody's caught up in the Harold Perkins galore, but I do think that on any given day, Harold Perkins is the best player on either side of the ball. It just so happens that LSU isn't using him how they should. They drop him into coverage, and I know he's got all those crazy stats about in dropping into coverage. He's one of the best linebackers graded by PFF. Well, guess what? He can affect the game a whole lot more rushing the passer, and we're going to need him this week because Milroe doesn't like to leave the pocket unless he has to, which is extremely weird for a guy that's just a super freak athlete. You saw a lot last week against Tennessee in the second half, or 2 weeks ago. Sorry, they had a bye week where they had more designed runs, and that Bama offense looked very, very threatening. I think that LSU has to be prepared for the designed run from Milroe, and Harold Perkins is going to have to kind of just mirror Milroe. And if he stays in the pockets, you got to get after him. Because I think the only way you really slow this Bama offense down, not that they're world beaters, LSU's defense is just not good, is getting in Milroe's face and pressuring him. Now, on the other side of the ball, Bama's defense is good. It's the best defense LSU has faced to date. There's no arguing that. FSU could make a case, but the LSU offense against FSU versus Bama is night and day. They weren't throwing it down the field against FSU. They were playing it safe, trying to get their guys, their playmakers, the ball short and let them go instead of pushing it down the field. This is a completely different LSU offense. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Now, can they protect Jaden Daniels? The offensive line has looked much better as of late, but this is a different Alabama pass rush. Dallas Turner in particular, absolute menace, first-round pick. Bama's always producing defensive linemen that are going to go wreck the league. Can they keep Jaden Daniels clean? Now, when the pocket inevitably does break down, that's when Jaden Daniels has to be special. That's why Jaden Daniels is the X factor in this game, because when all things are closed off, when Bama's defense finally covers Malik Neighbors, covers Brian Thomas, they've got the pressure, the pocket is closing in on Jaden Daniels. What is your Heisman moment? Joe Burrow had a Heisman moment against Alabama. Can you have that Heisman moment where you put your team in a position to win the game? That's what I'm paying attention to. Harold Perkins, Jalen Milroe, Bama's pass rush against Jaden Daniels. That's what I'm going to pay attention to.
Yeah, just some crazy numbers about LSU offense. They're averaging 8 yards a play. They can run the ball just as good as they pass the ball. They're averaging over 200 yards rushing. They don't have the running backs that you're going to be like, oh, that guy is going to be a first-round pick. It's not Leonard Fournette back there. But they have some physical runners, and their passing attack makes it so easy to open up holes. I do think protecting Jaden Daniels, obviously the number one priority for that offense. If he has protection, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas are going to have a field day. I know Alabama has a great secondary led by Kool-Aid McKinstry. But listen, great wide receivers like they're about to see on Sunday are always going to win those matchups. You're not going to be able to double team everyone. There's too many weapons on this LSU offense. If they can protect them, they're going to score. They should be able to run the ball. I think Alabama's really on the other side going to try to run the ball, take the air out of things. The one thing I will say about that is if there's one thing this LSU defense has proven, and yes, the Wingo loss sucks, but they have been decent against the run, particularly recently. They're much more vulnerable against the pass. And when we're talking about being 3 cornerbacks down, everyone's going to be like, oh, well, how do they do it? Well, those 3 cornerbacks kind of sucked, and they haven't done anything all season. So it's not like the guys that are stepping in for them probably aren't going to be like this huge downgrade. It's not like we lost Tre'Davious White and Derek Stingley out there. So I think LSU's main goal is going to be just trying to keep everything in front of them. The Alabama has been a big play offense. When they strike, they haven't had a lot of drives this entire season where it's been like, you saw it in the second half. They had a few where they established the run and stuff like that. I think a lot of that was Tennessee's defense taking terrible angles and letting them get outside far too often. They got to be disciplined, but don't get beat deep. Like if they get 12, 15 yards and stuff like that, intermediate routes, and Jaden Daniels is picking you apart like that, I'm fine. Do not let these guys get behind you and get beat deep for big plays. And I think that's going to be the key because it really has to be a bend but don't break. And they're going to break a bunch in this game. There is no doubt about it. They are not going to hold Alabama's offense to a ton of points, but they got to just get enough stops. And how many is enough stops? I don't think it's as many as people think. Like if they can get 4 or 5, and when I say stops, I don't mean 0 points. I mean field goals, like no touchdowns. If they can get 4, 5, 6, they can win this game with their offense. It's really just about getting enough stops on defense, stop holding them to field goals enough times to where they can let that offense be special. And I think it's going to take 40 points for LSU to win. And I think they can do that even on the road with this offense.
Yeah, I think it comes down to I wouldn't even say a couple of stops. I'd say timely stops. Timely stops are what's going to be important. Let's say Bama, defers to the second half. Bama's trying to go down at the end of the first half and trying to get points and try and double up. Those are when you just absolutely need a stop. Absolutely need. I'm not talking just a field goal. I'm talking actual stops. Timely stops are going to be more important than the totality of the stops, in my opinion, because this game is going to be a nail biter. One way I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to be pacing. This is going to be, it should be one of the best games of the season thus far. It's going to come down to either Jaden Daniels driving the field or Jalen Milroe driving the field. And if it's the latter, LSU's defense is going to have to come up big. That's what I mean. The timely stop is what's going to matter the most.
Yeah, I mean, this one will definitely have my stomach and knots all week, and it'll definitely have my stomach and knots on Saturday. But coming after the break, we might have to go to early leans because I think we have really pushed the clock on a couple of these. So we might have to do some early leans.